Hello and welcome to Flux Motorsport's coverage of the penultimate round of the GT1 Championship Season 2 in 2021, and today we return to Road America in the United States. This is the only circuit that returns from last season, so those who took part in Season 1 may have an advantage coming into today's event around the 4-mile circuit that hosts Round 7, but yet again there may be some inclement weather hanging around to cause some headaches. I'm Redders, and with me as always is McToasty, and last time out we saw how the weather played havoc on these drivers. With the potential for more rain coming on the way, do you think these drivers will be more prepared for swapping conditions, or could it be more difficult given, unlike last week, we're actually starting off dry?
Yeah, it's a bit different, but also similar. We have mixed conditions yet again this week. So last week in Spain, for those who missed it, started in the wet and it dried out. This time it's flipped around. We're starting in the dry for qualifying and start of the race, but rain might be on the way midway through or about there. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge, similar challenge, but a very different one. Strategy is going to definitely play a role, and I did see some drivers earlier today practicing in the rain. It was raining earlier today rather, and I was seeing times of about 2:09 in the rain, but we'll have to see what they do here in the dry. They'll have much more grip.
Indeed, as we are in the middle of our 20-minute qualifying session at the moment, and after this it'll be a 45-minute race. In the championship, with 2 rounds to go, we're down to just 5 drivers who are still in contention for the title fight. Despite only finishing 4th last time out, Bruce Law's championship lead was only cut slightly due to another disconnection for Blank Foul, meaning that it's now Little God who leads the chase, finding himself just 15 points behind. Immortalis moves up to 3rd on 152 points, that's 21 behind Bruce Law, and in 4th is Blank Foul, now 42 points down, meaning that he must outscore Bruce Law by at least 6 points to keep himself in contention for next week's final. Dr. Popford in 5th is the last of our drivers who can mathematically still win the title, though he would require 2 near-perfect weekends, with the challenges in front all having issues to turn the gap around. So with that in mind, the title fight is still on, still close. Who are you picking for it?
I'm thinking Lil God. I think he has the advantage coming in to the penultimate round, and he's very good at Road America, and also our last circuit of the season. And yeah, he's really getting a hang of that penthouse.
And of course, Steve, Lil God is one of the drivers who took part in last season, so does have the experience around here. He was actually talking to me a little bit earlier in the week. He was he got into his car and was like, I have no idea how I drove around this circuit with this setup. So he's feeling a lot more prepared, and you can see how close it is already just in the first laps alone, with Immortalis setting the fastest lap so far on 156.8. and Little God only half a tenth behind in seconds as the opening couple of times come through. So one thing that we love about Road America is that not only is it the fact that this is the only circuit that we've brought back from Season 1, however, you may notice on the rundown on that back straight that we've just done there's a lovely little advertising board for a cheese company. The reason that we bring this up is McToasty last season went absolutely crazy about the cheese facts, and we're thinking, well, we've got qualifying, we might as well get some more. So Beans, he's done his research, and he has told me he's done his research, so I'm expecting some good facts here. McToasty, the cheese board is all yours.
Alright, well, first one of the day. We're in Wisconsin, known as the Dairy State. There are nearly 100 cheese factories across the state. So there you go.
They love cheese. I gotta say, Wisconsin may be my friends if they keep this up. I don't mind a little bit of a slice myself. So plenty of talking points, of course, for our event, not just in the title fight, but also Linga Bazinga, the defending champion, has pulled out for the remainder of the season, can't make it, so we will have a new champion no matter what. In fact, he was actually out of the title fight at this point anyway, so that's Linga. It's a shame to see him disappear. He's unable to make the last two events, but again, as he proved this year, when he got to the flag, he was always on the podium, so always one of those dangerous drivers to keep an eye out for. It's just a shame that he wasn't able to complete the season for us.
Yeah, I'm hoping for him to come back next season, make a comeback, and really make a statement.
Also, another one that I want to point out is CDN Trooper, as we see him here 4th in the pits at the moment. Last time out, he got here 5th place, which was his 3rd of the season. He's really one of these drivers that's definitely improving. Do you think things are starting to work out for him in the GT1 Championship now?
Yeah, he's really improved in that Mercedes. Probably started with no setup or knowledge of the car whatsoever, and yeah, he's really brought it up to speed. He got was it 2 top 5 finishes this season so
Three
far?
of them.
3 of them. That's impressive against this field.
It is. It's a really, really strong field, as we've been talking about. It was a 5th place at Willow Springs, a circuit, to get a 5th place like that. That just shows you the kind of driver he is. But also the last 2 times out in Germany and in Spain. So definitely starting to find his footing. Do you think maybe it might be a bit too early to talk about maybe title contention next season, or would you say maybe another season to build up and then try and go after, or do you think maybe he has a chance next season?
I'm thinking he's looking for podiums at this point.
Really, just even skip the 4th place.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, why not? Oh dear.
Yeah, he's been making that steady progression, so wouldn't see that it would be unrealistic at this point.
Indeed. And Immortalis actually just goes and sets a faster lap on a 156.2, as we saw Little God just passing by CDN Trooper, still in 2nd now, 6 tenths down. The defending champion, Bruce Law, looking relatively comfortable. It's let's say a solid result in Spain for him. 4th in qualifying and 4th in the race, so not the high standards that we'd expect, but definitely he was kind of keeping an eye on what was going on ahead and just trying to keep himself out of danger, I think, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's had a couple bad luck moments. Red Bull Ring being one of them, was leading the race and ended up spinning the car in turn 3, I think it was. But then he made it an amazing fight back, so we know he has pace. It's just getting the car under him and building that confidence of throwing it into corners and knowing it will stick with the right setup on.
Blankfile in 4th, another unfortunate disconnection last time out, and it's one of the things that we mentioned. Obviously, it happened to him whilst he was leading the race in Austria. He was down in 8th last weekend in Spain when it happened to him, and now finds himself a bit on the back foot, definitely trying to find his way back into this title fight. As we mentioned, does need to outscore Bruce Law by at least 6 points to keep himself in contention for the final race. I had another driver come up to me earlier this week and say, I cannot see anything other than a blank file pole position at this circuit, and there are a lot of straights for this car to really benefit from around this circuit, isn't there?
Yeah, and Blankfile has been doing an amazing job really just throwing that Toyota around. I mean, it's got to be the largest car in the class. It's very cumbersome, not too light on its feet, but hey, he seems to be able to just make it somehow nimble and get it around these tight twisty sections. Great exits onto the straight where it really where it really shines, and now he's gone back into the pits.
Just as you were building him up for the end of the lap, and then he goes and does that. So we're past the halfway point, at least in our qualifying session. At the moment, Immortalis is still leading the way on a 156.2. Little God, who's second place in the championship, finds himself second place on a grid, definitely improving in his qualifying results in the last couple of races, finds himself second at the moment. Bruce Law, championship leader, is in third place, also just coming out of the pits now, Blank File in fourth. CDN Trooper, who we've been talking about, is currently in 5th place. 6th is Martin at 65. Snarling Bongo finds himself in 7th place at the moment, just piddling. Reserve driver coming back once again for another event. Good to see him. Mac is in 8th at the moment. Survivor finds himself in 9th. 10th place is Spackmeyer, another reserve coming back once again. Dr. Potford is in 11th, and Green Gaming is in 12th. So, I've got to say, I know with maybe a little bit less numbers than usual, but just piddling in, was 7th place, just got knocked down to 8th. That's still a relatively good result, especially for someone who's joining us as a reserve.
Yeah, quite good. Last week was the first time he drove the GT1s in this series. And yeah, again, another driver able to really build up the speed quickly. Doesn't need too many practice laps to get near the pace here.
He qualified in 14th last time out in Spain. We know he's going to beat that anyway, and finished in 12th place. So it's already a good foundation, the start of this event so far for him. If you want to join in with everything that goes on Flux Motorsport, if you think you can take on our drivers, trust me, looking at the times, I would be in 11th at the moment, but then Dr. Potford and Green Gaming both don't really look to have set a competitive lap time as of yet, so I'd probably be right at the back. McToasty would be rather competitive, but if you think that you could compete with our drivers, all you need to do is head over to fluxmotorsport.com, where you'll be able to sign up. You just need to take a quick evaluation ride, and then maybe you can jump into one of our championship races just as we come to the end of Season 2 to prepare yourself in time for Season 3 starting in a few weeks or a month or so's time here at Flux Motorsport. So really, now is the best time to get signed up, because there's a quick opportunity to jump in as a reserve, and then you'll be able to be prepared and get some practice in ready for the next season.
Coming down the Road America straight here, just fiddling. Let's see if he improves. He doesn't, but he might be starting another lap here. Going down to turn 1, might go down a couple gears, maybe 4th gear here. And this little bend here is turn 2. Coming down to turn 3, brake at the second bore, most likely, for these cars. And not sure what this straight is called, but turn 4 is right under this Sargento cardboard truck. And turn 5 is a very difficult downhill braking zone. Gonna see probably a couple overtakes here in the race. Very easy to oversteer there, both in entry and exit, up the hill to turn 6 under that Corvette banner. And turn 7, a very tricky right-hander. It's a little off camber. Got that inside curve I have to be careful of. This is the Hurry Downs, small straight to, is it turn 8? I'm not sure. Then after that is the Speedville famous carousel. A very long right-hander. Gotta stay on the inside as, oh yeah, gotta avoid doing that on the outside curve. Lose some speed through the kink here. But this is called the Kettle Bottoms, I believe. Love that name. Down to Canada Corner, another very tricky off camber, tight right-hander. Make sure not to go too deep. And then through this S section to the last corner, flat out through there, and back onto Road America straight, and that's a lap in Road America.
Absolutely perfect, and I didn't even need to give you a cue to do it. Absolutely brilliant walkthrough. Loved it as well. Got all the sponsors in as well, so bring us the cheese, please. And just Fiddling crosses the line, still remains on a 1 at 58.8. Immortalis up the front is now dipped under the 156 and now 155.9, so Immortalis looking quite strong here. I would believe this might even be his first pole position. Let me just check my notes. No, I'm so well prepared. It would actually be Immortalis' first pole position if he does continue on in this way. So he's put behind enough, and that's one of the things that we mention each and every single week. Is a little incident at the back there for Starling Bongo. Immortalis, we always talk about how he has lightning reactions to these starts, but he's always been behind someone to jump ahead, so being in front at the start like this is really got to be beneficial for him to be on pole position, although I have heard that the grid is a little bit different here. Instead of being staggered, it's side by side.
Yeah, and the pole starts on the outside of...
Oh, as he goes a little wide there, and that's going to do some damage, so he's probably going to pull that one back into the pits as he slows down to let the driver behind go. So, not what you want, but when you're in first place, you can kind of worry about that later, considering he has almost a second advantage at the moment over Little God in second, and definitely an improvement in qualifying for Little God over these last few events. Before Germany, he'd only qualified at best 5th this season, but then he had second place in Germany, got pole position last time out, only his second pole in the GT1 championship. So really, this was kind of the kink in the armour that was really not helping Little God in his championship battle. But now that he's got control of this, now he's got the qualifying pace, do you really think that's going to help him just catch that gap to Bruce Law in his final 2 rounds?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, he's been really working on starting further up the grid. He'll have a much easier time launching the car off the line in this dry weather. Last week at Spain, he was all over the shot, as you would say. Left and right across the pit lane exit, and managed to get it going eventually, but yeah,
ooh, and
inside.
there's a big slide and big crash, and unfortunately for Little God, he's not going to have the time to be able to get back and fix that car and have another run out. There's not enough time to get back around to the line, so that is going to be it for Little God for the end of this session. Blankfile then has got himself up into 3rd place, still over a second behind, so might be quick on those straights, but maybe struggling a little bit in those corners on what will be probably his penultimate or final chance. It'll be his final lap, actually, won't it? So one last chance then to set his position as he goes now down the hill there. You did this so much better than I did. As he goes through turn 8 then and works his way through 9 and 10, this carousel, this elongating right-hand corner, stressing around this corner. I mean, even in Indy cars, they take this corner for about 9 seconds, so in these cars, probably even longer. It's really difficult through there. On to Ben and through King in 11. Yep, these named down absolutely perfectly. Even down this Kettle Bottom straight into Canada corner. You'll have to remind me of the story of why it's called Canada corner. I remember someone telling us about this last season. It's a rather interesting story. So if you remember it, you've got to let us know as we go through now the final few corners and gets round Bill Mitchell Ben and up to 14 up the hill. It's such a steep hill, this as well. You kind of, it really looks like it's quite flat there, but when you're actually driving it, it is really a big climb, isn't it?
Yeah, it's at least 100 feet up towards the finish line there. Immortalis 14 seconds quicker than practice, really taking advantage of that dry weather. Yeah, as I said before, in the rain in practice earlier, they were running about 209s, so much quicker. And at the start of the race, going to be dry, so yeah, they'll be using some of that pace up, and then there's the whole what's going to happen with the weather and the strategy, and yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Being in the booth as we are and not having to worry about the weather, we're wanting a little bit of rain, aren't we? Because at least we stay dry, but it makes for some amazing entertainment. I mean, some of the racing that we had last week, I mean, Immortalis and Snarling Bongo, that side-by-side battle through Sector 3 at Catalunya, which should not be possible, and they managed to do it, was just fantastic to watch, and that's just one of the benefits of wet weather racing.
Yeah, it really was incredible. Bruce Law coming around final corner here, a little loose on the exit curb, up that tall hill. And let's see if he improves. He does up to third.
Gets ahead of Blank File, so last lap, and gets himself another place on the grid, so that's worked out well for him. Starling Bongo just coming to complete his lap. We'll have to see if he's able to finish as he crosses the line. Can he improve? It doesn't look like it, and that is our qualifying session over then. It is Immortalis taking his first ever pole position in GT1 Championship, ahead of Little God in second place. Row 2 is headed by Bruce Law in third, and in fourth is Blank File. Stunning Bongo is in fifth, with CDN Trooper in sixth place. Just Piddlin, who is one of our reserves, is in seventh. Eighth is Survivor. Dr. Potford is in ninth, and rounding out the top 10 is Spankmeyer in 10th. And 11th is Green Gaming. And so with that in mind, don't forget, whilst you're here watching, to keep up with everything Flux Motorsport related, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so that you get notified of all the latest videos as they appear here on YouTube. And why not drop us a like on this video too? You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Flux Motorsport, and don't forget that you can also join our Discord server too to keep up to date with everything going on here at Flux Motorsport. So with a minute and a half for the cars to get set up by these drivers, I want to talk about Immortalis. Obviously we've talked about him being just getting his first pole position here. We've not really talked about him in the championship picture really, but he's only 21 points behind Bruce Law, is ahead of him, has pole position, looks good. We can't rule him out of the title fight either, can we?
Yeah, he'll at least have a shot of getting that top 3 spot to lock him in for next season. And yeah, top 3 drivers and points get automatic entry to the next season, so he'll be at least looking for that. And then yeah, any further points up the table will just be further accomplishment.
Of course, as I mentioned, the top 3 get to join into the next season straight away. After that, it's first come, first serve, and it's hotly contested. So if you want to be part of this, you've got to be quick and make sure that you are set up and ready to go. Team Angie on YouTube says, let's go Bruce Law and Blank File, so we know where their allegiance lies with those two drivers. 45 minutes. It's Mystic McToasty time. Quickly, who do you call for the win?
Little God.
In one word, well, technically it's 2 words with a hyphen in the middle, but you kind of get the point. As we get ready for our race for 45 minutes, who's it gonna be? I am looking forward to this one. As we get ready, as the lights come on, and the lights are out, and there it is, another fantastic start for Immortalis, and gets himself clear of Little God, just what he wanted as they head into turn 1, and a massive speed advantage. Look at that, that was very close between Immortalis, Little God and Blank File, but they managed to keep it all clean up there. But Little God up the inside of Immortalis gets the move done. Little God takes the lead from Immortalis. Blank File is in third place with Bruce Law hanging on in fourth. Dr. Potford gets himself into fifth, and Immortalis is now fighting Little God for the lead. As we always said, down into turn 5, this is the place where you want to keep your eyes for any potential moves, but Little God covers his line really well there and keeps a hold of the lead. Absolutely fantastic. A little bit of defensive driving there, but it's still not over at the front. Immortalis is actually now kind of pushing Little God through this section. Immortalis really wants that lead back, and what a start it's been between these two.
Blanefile almost made it 3 wide into turn 1. He had to back out and make sure there wasn't an incident. He came under pressure by Bruce Law quite a bit there. Bruce Law almost doing the same thing, pushing that Toyota through the Sector 2 there.
We've already lost Snarling Bongo. We're only in the first lap and we've already lost Snarling Bongo, so he's dropped out of the race. But as we continue now onto Kettlebottom's, what a fantastic name that is, down into Canada Corner on this opening first lap, and Immortalis still pressuring Little God. Does Immortalis have the straight line advantage on the main straight?
I don't know. The penthouse seems pretty evenly matched in straight line speed, depending on how much downforce they have on the cars. That could make the difference. Blankfile making up some ground on Immortalis. He's on that straight now. Let's see what he can do in the slipstream. Looks like he's gaining.
He's got the inside line, and Immortalis is going to have to concede that place as Blankfile does indeed get to second, but Immortalis, he's good with these side-by-side battles. He's not going to give this one up easy. He had to do it with Snarling Bongo last week. He's doing it with Blankfile this week, but unfortunately Blankfile gets the move done. So Immortalis is going to put the pressure on again now. Down this straight, underneath the cheese board once again. We'll get another cheese fact soon. But it's looking incredibly close between these three. But once again, Little God is using this battling to his advantage and pulling out a lead just like he did last week. Blankfile still able to keep himself up there as Immortalis maybe runs a little wide, maybe has to keep an eye on Bruce Law behind, but this has been fantastic between these drivers in the early going.
Yeah, really a clean start. Haven't seen any contact. Very close between side-by-side action and probably inches apart, but yeah, they're definitely giving each other just enough room here. Immortalis might be just a little held up through these twisty sections behind Blankfile, and then Blankfile might just power away down Kettle Bottoms here. See Immortalis go a little wide through the kink, or not the kink, exit of the carousel. Probably had some dirty air off of that big rear wing of the Toyota.
I've got to say, a good shout out here to Survivor, who finds himself in 5th place at the moment. His best race result at the moment. Oh, as Immortalis runs a little bit wide, so giving Bruce Law an opportunity. He's going to have the inside into the final corner. Can he just hang it around on the inside? He might be a little bit too far back. Might have to go back into the slipstream and try and take the place on the main straight here, but that was looking pretty close there. Bruce Law now in the slipstream of Immortalis is going to go up the inside, and is it going to be a repeat of what we saw last lap with Immortalis and Blankfile? Bruce Law not quite as quick, but still gets the position. Will he cover the line this time? Yes, he does, and Immortalis can't make the move, so Bruce Law gets himself up into 3rd. Immortalis with a great start, but is dropping down now into 4th place. But back to my point that I was trying to get onto previously, Survivor finds himself in 5th place at the moment. Got himself a 2-second gap as well, so looking pretty good. I gotta say, it's a fantastic job because Survivor's best result at the moment is a 9th place. So this is really a jump up in the standings, exactly what he's been looking for so far this season.
Yeah, very good. Oh.
And we said it, didn't we?
Oh,
and
no.
he's gone and spun.
Watch the rejoin there. Looks like all the cars are cleared.
I'm going to say, I think that kind of falls on me, that one, doesn't it? On the old commentator's curse. I went ahead and did it, so sorry, Survivor, my fault on that one.
Just fiddling now up into 5th now.
So it's all going good, and I mean, this Just Piddling is one of our reserve drivers, finished 12th last time out in Spain, so really good showing from Just Piddling as well. So plenty to be looking for here as the front four kind of open up a little bit, get a little bit quite spacious up there. So Just Piddling, an excellent result. He's really getting to the hang of this quite quickly, isn't he?
Yeah, going through Canada Corner. Cannon Corner is called that, at least from my knowledge of what Carlin has told me that multiple Canadians have crashed into the barriers there and had to be extracted from their cars. Hopefully our Canadian of CEN won't have that issue today.
No, I'm sure he's going to be perfectly fine, as are all our other drivers. I mean, already just over 5-6 minutes into this race already. It's been fantastic action that we've been seeing as well. So we've got to keep ourselves eyes all over the place here, especially for the weather. How's your weather radar looking? Does it say anything yet, or can we get ourselves excited, or are we just going to have to wait this one out?
Rain clouds are looking a little spotty, but that might change soon. Yeah, clouds are still looking a little. Yeah, clouds are still looking a little dark, overcast. So might come soon.
This is why we have McToasty in his binoculars. He gets to check these out. So we promised more cheese facts. We've only had one so far. Come on, hit us with some more.
All right. Well, 90% of Wisconsin milk is made into cheese. That's more than 2.8 billion pounds of cheese per year, or 11 pounds for each person in the U.S. Quite a lot of cheese.
Oh, how much of that comes from pizzas, do you think?
Oh, I don't know. Some Americans do like pizza. The American style of pizza.
I would admit, even as a Brit, I consume far too many pizzas throughout the year, to be perfectly honest. So Little God then finds himself in the lead still, with that 3.5 second gap now, so pulling out again, and this is what we've been saying about the championship fight. This is really going in the way of Little God at the moment, so not taking the fastest lap point into consideration as of yet. It would be closing the gap by another 8 points, which would leave him 7 points behind going into the championship final. It's looking like season 1 for him again, isn't it?
Yeah, season 1 again. Points very close at the end. Every season of ours came down to the last race for the points for the top spot. But I think Immortalis here, it looks like he might be struggling a little bit, but you know, I think it might just be that he has a wet setup on that car, and he's hoping for rain to come. It looks like he's got a lot of downforce on the car, a little bit of a sitting duck on the straight, but he might be a swimming duck soon.
I was going to say, how much of that gamble do you take in a situation like this, when you know the rain might be on the way? Because it's a little different to last week. Last week it was raining, but then it dried up. So you set yourself up for a wet race, and maybe it might be dry a little bit later. How do you take that into consideration when you're like, okay, we've got it dry? That's quite an interesting way of getting out of the way for drivers. I'm sure there was a bit of road on the other side you could have used. But when you've got that dry start and maybe rain is coming on the way, how much of that gamble do you take on setting up a little bit more for wet weather conditions?
Yeah, it's difficult. Really have to make sure that you have a car that's quick in the dry, but also drivable in the wet, and that's the key, because you don't want the car to be flying off the road as soon as a couple drops fall. If you build a gap like Little God has here in the dry weather, when the rain starts coming, you really want to be able to keep that gap, or at least manage it to a certain extent.
We also have to give a shout out to Martin, who's got in touch with us and said that he got disconnected, unfortunately, as well from the session as well. So it's a shame after a relatively good qualifying result for him as well. So looking good, and unfortunately he dropped out as well. So it's a shame to see him dropping out. So we just get past the 10-minute mark, and that lead for Little God up in front is just extending a bit more, and maybe it's because Bruce Law is now pushing Blank File for second place here.
Yeah, Bruce Law really putting the pressure on here through sector 2, the more tight and twisty section. Probably won't be able to use all of the pace he has through the carousel here behind that Toyota. Very close enough to have that air disturbed and not use those aerodynamics to their peak efficiency. Really has to lift through the kink and gets a little on the grass with those left side tires, which are going to make it difficult through Canada corner.
He's definitely looking a lot closer until that small mistake there.
Yeah, very difficult to follow in these cars close through high-speed sections.
Yeah, this will be the point where you would expect Blankfile to maybe just extend that gap a little bit more. So Bruce Law maybe got a little bit of work still to go there. His City End Trooper down in 6th is now actually just overtaking Just Piddling for 5th place. So I'm not sure if that was just a mistake there for Just Piddling or whether he was letting him through, which will be a bit of an interesting choice there. But again, the City End Trooper back in 5th place. I think 5 must be his favourite number.
Yeah, he's getting quite a few top 5s now. Another on the way here.
Definitely looking good there. Survivor climbing back up in 8th place is now charging after Dr. Popford, just ahead of him in 7th. So bit of a shame of what happens early on, but starting a good fight back here already. And looking like he might be challenging. Will he have a go down at turn 5, do you think, here?
Maybe if he can get a good exit. Looks like he does. Not too much wheel spin. Stays off the curb. Dr. Potford looks like he might have a little bit of front aero damage. That front grille looks a little askew. So that might help Survivor in his straight line speed. Doesn't look like he gains enough ground on him in order to pull alongside, though.
I should point out it looks like Bruce Law has had a mistake somewhere, because he's now dropped down to 4th place and he's behind Immortalis, who's gone back up to 3rd. So we'll have to see what Bruce Law's lap time is next time around. But looks like he's dropped a couple of seconds there because he was right behind Blankfile. So bit of a mistake there, not what you need when you're fighting for a championship, of course, and that one place, of course, drops him a further 2 points and closes the gap to Little God up in front, fastest lap point notwithstanding, down to just 5 points. It's getting closer.
Yeah, Little God last lap, 1:58.8, and I believe that's the fastest lap so far. He's going to want to get the fastest lap out of the way, get that point before the rain begins, if it does begin soon. I do see on the radar there does seem to be some rain clouds forming to the southwest northeasterly wind here, so could be soon, could be coming.
Does rain affect cheese? Is it gonna make it terrible to eat?
I'd imagine it would make it a bit soggy and a little bit less appetizing.
I'm going to say, because I'm sure at this rate the cheese is going to be following us in Survivor. Oh, just as he was getting to Dr. Popford, has a spin there. And just as that fight was coming on, and it looks like Smackmar will get ahead of him again. So still mistakes being made even in the dry at the moment.
Yeah, he got really close to Dr. Potford there. I'm guessing he just lost the air on his rear wing, and the back of the car just went around.
As here is the championship leader, Bruce Law, now a 2-minute 7.8, lost himself almost 9 seconds to Little God up front, so a big mistake there. And that was the thing, of he was only a few seconds still behind Little God. Little God a little bit up the road, but he's kind of managing the gap, I think, at the moment, rather than trying to go all flat out.
Yeah, we'll have to see what his lap time is around these last couple of corners here. I think he's going onto the straight now. 1:59. Yeah, so about 1 second slower. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that he's, as you said, just managing the gap.
Another thing that I've taken into consideration here, with the weather that's potentially on the way as well, is it something that you would consider in terms of your fuel for pit stops? Because obviously pit stops aren't mandatory here. If you can go from start to finish, there's nothing to say that you can't. So would you, with that weather, would you take a gamble and say, okay, it's not coming, I'm going to fuel and just go from start to finish and just hope that it doesn't? Or do you say, well, okay, there's probably rain coming, I'll make a stop, and even if it doesn't, then I'm safe, but I'll just fuel up until that pit stop and then just take a little bit of fuel to see me through to the end?
Yeah, the GT1 cars here, sizable fuel tank, easily enough to run for 45 minutes. If this was the LMP2 race, it'd be a completely different story. But I see a couple spots of rain on the camera lens there.
You're the one that's got the binoculars. Can't see it myself yet, but it may be on the way. It does look like it's starting to get a bit darker now, so potentially it is coming. As we've actually gone well past the 1/3 stage at the moment. Little God still leads at the moment up in front. 1:59.9 on his last lap. Blank File is in second place, trying to keep himself in the title fight at the moment. I don't think he's doing enough, but he needs maybe one more place over Bruce Law. Immortalis is in third, just fending off Bruce Law in fourth place at the moment. As we keep watching this battle, as it gets closer and closer, you might be right, maybe there is a few spots coming along, maybe Immortalis getting a little bit spooked by it, and yes, I definitely saw it there. The rain is on the way, you're absolutely right. As we go down to the main straight, here it is, the rain is falling. Bruce Law goes for the podium position, he's trying to get that third place back, and he gets it done. Almost a repeat of what he did earlier in the race, except Immortalis is going to try and hang it around the outside. It's very brave to do that, doesn't usually pay off, and it hasn't in this case either.
No, Immortalis, yeah, continuing to struggle a little bit. Yeah, Bruce Law just seems to have quite a bit of speed on these straights, and he's just using that to his advantage. We'll have to see how that car fares in the wet here as the track starts to get a bit more soggy.
A little bit more damp, a little bit more moist. The weather is on the way, and Spackmeyer already in the pits. I wonder if that's just for a random pit stop. I don't think you could be going for wet tyres just yet. Like, it'll be on the way, but you won't want to go for it just yet, sure.
Yeah, Bruce Law just I don't know, a couple small moments there, a little wiggle. So that could be it's a little early for the track to be wet enough to be causing any handling issues like that, but it's possible.
As Immortalis somehow still manages to keep it on track and still in a good position, fighting there. That was very close. And one thing that I learned, I gotta say, unlike all the other circuits, I've literally only had like about a lap or two around here to go back to see what's like. The curbs are very unforgiving around here, and in these wet conditions, that's going to be even more so. So that's another thing these drivers are going to have to watch out for in these conditions.
Yeah, they're going to have to steer very clear from the curbs, as the cambered corners, there's going to be puddles forming near those curves as well.
We take a look down further down the grid. CDN Trooper still in 5th place, kind of just running his own race at the moment, and maybe especially when conditions are changing like that, that's just what you want really. Just Piddling comes into the pits from 6th place, so is he going to be swapping for the wet weather tyres already? We'll have to keep an eye out as he comes down. I find it very interesting. The pit lane is incredibly wide at this circuit compared to the actual racing circuit. You kind of think maybe you'd have a little bit more for the circuit than the pit lane, but yep, there's a change of the tyres, so that's going on. So keep an eye on that as Survivor now jumps into 6th place ahead. Dr. Popford will jump from 8th to 7th. Spankmeyer is a little bit further behind, of course. He's already made a pit stop, so maybe he's already on the tyres in 9th place, and Green Gaming finds himself down in 10th place at the moment. So are you surprised maybe a couple of early stops here for the dry tyres, or is just piddling maybe getting a little bit more, because that's quite a long time to be sat in the pit? Yeah, it just comes out now.
That is a while. He might have underfueled the car, like you said earlier. That might be a strategy that he's going for. Yeah, just putting a bit more fuel in the car to make it to the end of the race, as well as changing the tires to wets. As Little God
the leader
dives
is in.
Pits.
The leader is in. Little God comes in for his stop, and you can really see the rain hammering down now. So maybe this is the point of which it's time for those wet weather tyres, as Blankfile also comes in. As we see Bruce Law, however, continuing on, as does Immortalis by the look of it as well. So Bruce Law will continue on for another lap. He's going to try for the overcut here. That's not going to work out in these conditions, surely.
Yeah, that's a brave move. We'll see if he'll have. He'll have a 1 lap newer wet tires at the end, but he's gonna have to keep it on track on his in lap here to make that advantage work out for him.
The CDN Trooper has come into the pits, and he was only about 14 seconds or so behind Bruce Law before all these stops. So it's going to be interesting to see if maybe CDN can get a massive undercut here. As you can see, Bruce Law really struggling in those conditions, goes wide at turn 5. Normally, if you see that happen, it's because 2 drivers have gone side by side through there, but Bruce Law really struggling. Do you think at this point he's going in that helmet? Oh no, I've left it a lap too late.
Yeah, I think he is. I think Immortalis is doing the same thing. It looks like he lost it in turn 3. And fell back from Bruce Law, but yeah, keeping the same gap. Looks like Immortalis was okay through turn 5. Carousel is very tricky in the wet, especially with dry tires on, and so is the King. He'll have to make a huge lift here. Oh, yep, long time off the throttle.
He's a braver man than I am to be trying this part of the circuit, dry tyres on a wet circuit. It's absolutely a brave thing to do as we go to Canada corner, and you can see, as his spinner just manages to avoid the barriers, and you can see the spray now. It's really getting difficult, it's really getting tricky, and Bruce Law, definitely this gamble hasn't paid off as he finds himself on the grass now, the championship leader in a lot of difficulty. He had the gap to CDN Trooper, but we're going to have to see how that comes now. Surely he's got to come into the pits this lap, and he will indeed. Really struggling through those last few corners, as Immortalis actually made up quite a few seconds in the chase back to Bruce Law then, as they both finally make it into the pits for their stops. We know Little God is going to jump them. In fact, he was already about 24 seconds behind before these guys pitted, so he's really made a big cut into their lead and will go back into the lead nice and comfortably, as will Blankfile in 2nd place. The real battle now is CDN Trooper. Can CDN Trooper catch these guys? He's already made his stop. He's already on the wet weather tyres. We saw how much Bruce Law and Immortalis was struggling on that last lap. So definitely want to see, can CDN Trooper potentially get himself into a podium position here?
Yeah, it looks like Blankfile is already out. He made that that strategy call for last lap. Yeah, Bruce just getting out of the pits now. Immortalis still in there. So CDN might be able to overtake Immortalis.
Immortalis is just heading down to the pit exit now. It's really slow and a really long pit lane as well. There is CDN Trooper. It's going to be close. And CDN Trooper does, in fact, get himself up into 4th place. So it didn't affect Bruce Law so much, that struggle on that last lap, but it has Immortalis. CDN Trooper gets himself into 4th place. If he can hang on to this, it will be his best ever finish in a GT1 race. So things definitely looking up for CDN Trooper here.
Yeah, whether it was not going for the gamble because he was in another top 5 position, or whether he was just driving smart, it's brought him up to 4th, and not taking that gamble on the extra lap. Saw the almost the sheen of the track like getting damp, and yeah, it went right in. Got those wet tires on, and here he is.
I think that's one of the things that you can take advantage of when you've got such a gap to the guys in front, but also a gap to the guys behind. When you're running your own race with no one around you, there's not really that pressure to make a gamble, is there? So you can just kind of do whatever you want, and as it turned out, it worked out massively for CDN Trooper.
Yeah, he's going along steady here. Immortalis looks like he's pushing pretty hard to try and make up his lost ground. Goes off in the kink there in the background on the grass. Did well to keep it pointed in the right direction though. Very easy to lose it on the grass on the outside of the kink.
A little wide there for CDN Trooper down that corner, and also looks like the same for Immortalis as well. So they're all trying to hang on for what they possibly can here. So I have to keep an eye out to see if Immortalis can close that gap to CDN Trooper up in front. It does look like getting a little bit closer, and already maybe CDN Trooper maybe defending thin air a little bit, trying to go for the inside there. It's not really something that you want to be doing that early on the straight.
Yeah, I think it was more of breaking the draft behind. He went back to the outside, take the preferred line for turn 1. Immortalis does look like he gained a bit through turn 1 there though.
It does look a lot closer, and these conditions are really making it difficult. And as we did say, well, you said earlier, you might think Immortalis has maybe got a setup more suited for the wet conditions, so maybe his car will come a little bit alive now as he flashes the lights to CDN Trooper. Tries to distract him a little bit, won't be close enough for a move into turn 5, but you've got to say it does kind of look like it's coming as it gets really close there.
Yeah, very late on the brakes for these conditions. Oh, pushing CDN through turn 6.
A little bit of a bumper now. CDN Trooper is trying to fight this one desperately as they go through 7. Looking around the outside of 8, it's going to be a brave one from Immortalis if he tries it, but he's going for it. And they do go side by side, and it pays off and works out for him. Immortalis gets himself up into 4th place again. So a little bit of a struggle by doing that one dry lap on in the wet conditions, but he gets himself back up into 4th place. But now finds himself 20 seconds down on Bruce Law in front in 3rd.
Yeah, CDN knows that Immortalis is going to be pushing hard here, trying to get a podium finish out of this, and he might just be thinking of just hanging back, continuing racing his own race.
Looking quite close now between Spankmeyer and even Dr. Popford as Spankmeyer goes and has a spin and somehow even gets into the wall in that direction. Not entirely sure how that worked out, but Spankmeyer drops down to 9th as Dr. Popford gets himself up into 8th place. So a little bit of a gift there, but Dr. Popford will take it nonetheless.
Just Piddlin in 6th place. Looks like he's also kind of running his own race at this time. He went on the wet tires 1 lap earlier than most, so he's going to have very worn wet tires by the end on the last lap. So Survivor might have another chance towards the end if he can hold it together.
Definitely looking like a very lonely race for Just Piddling. 32 seconds behind CDN Trooper up in 5th place, and 12, nearly 13 seconds ahead of Survivor back in 7th. So with just under 15 minutes left to go, Little God, he is still there, folks. He is still leading the way in first place, has a 6.5 second lead over Blank File in second place. Bruce Law finds himself in third place now, kind of in a lonely race on his own as well. Immortalis finds himself pulling away from CDN Trooper quite significantly now in fourth place. CDN Trooper in that fifth place again, but it'll be his fifth place of the season, which is definitely consistent in anyone's books. Just piddling, as we were talking about, is in sixth place. Survivor finds himself in seventh place. Dr. Popford is running in eighth. Smackmeyer is in ninth place, going quite wide and off the track there. I don't know if he just outbraked himself. I know he's staying out of the way for Blank File, who's coming through to lap him. And in last place is Green Gaming. So, who has really impressed you so far this race?
I'd say, yeah, Little God has just been very consistent. Yeah, he's really adapted to the conditions quickly, and that's very difficult to do. You have to adjust your line, brake much earlier, be very much more careful on the throttle on the corner exits, and also stay away from puddles. It's a difficult combination, so he's making it work.
Is it more of a struggle in the panels? Because I know you're saying that it's quite a difficult car to handle, but especially in these conditions, does it make it that much worse?
Yeah, the Panos doesn't have any assists like the Mercedes and Toyota do. Of course, the Porsche doesn't either. So, yeah, both difficult cars to drive in adverse weather. Without those, without the help of not locking up or spinning up the tires.
Basically, they're just showing off their driving skills, is what we're saying. As Little God struggles a little bit there, just goes a little bit onto the grass. He's not too bad though, still had about a 7-second lead, so those small mistakes are kind of alright at the moment. You can see Blank File is just there in the background. With about 10 minutes left to go, just over. We can take a look then at the fastest lap time, and it would be the fastest lap point going to Little God as well, so looking like potentially another 36 pointer for him, and that is pretty much exactly what he'd been hoping for, to really just maximise that championship attempt to try and close in, of course, with Bruce Law in third place. With that fastest lap point for Little God as well, which isn't going to be usurped now that we're in wet weather conditions. That will close the gap by 9 points and would leave us with a 6-point gap for the championship lead for Bruce Law heading into the final round in Dubai. It was only 5 points by the end of last season, so 6 going into the final round. It's all to play for at that point.
Yeah, just as close, and yeah, that's what we like to see here at Flux Motorsports. Very, very close in the points towards the end of the season, and all the pressure is on, and yeah, every point matters going into the last race, and we'll have to see what the pressure does to our drivers, how they can perform.
How gutting do you think it must be for Blank File? And I really don't want to bring this up because he's been absolutely fantastic all season, and the fact that he's been driving so brilliantly all year and finds himself in second place yet again, but basically for 2 disconnections, not even his own fault, as it stands at the moment, despite taking points out of Bruce Law, he won't be taking enough to be able to keep himself in the top fight into the final round. I mean, for someone who's driven so well this season, that's really got to be disappointing for him.
Yeah, it is quite a bit of heartbreak. More than a couple disconnections, I believe. But yeah, and, I mean, Carlin has put it one way on the American side. simulating motorsports, in motorsports, you'll have sometimes where it's completely out of your control. You'll have a mechanical failure, something wrong with your engine, tire failure, something of the sort, and you'll have to stop the car and retire from the race. I mean, I'm not kind of. It's a comparison to make, and it's something to think about that does happen in motorsport, but at the same time, it's just something out of your control that you can't get those points, and just gotta move on to the next race and hope for the best.
If there's one thing that we have seen, though, with how great his drive has been this season, he's definitely one to be keeping an eye on for next season, especially if things don't quite pan out the way for him this time round. So, with a couple of minutes left, we've only had 2 cheese facts. Come on, you must have some more,
You're right.
Toasty.
I do. Let's see here. Wisconsin is home to more than 13 festivals dedicated specifically to cheese.
That's brilliant.
13 in a year. That's quite a few. That's more than one a month. Where do they where do they fit them all?
Okay, well, we'll take January. You can have February. March, there's 31 days, so you two can have them. Are you aware of the I can't remember the name of it, but there is a festival in Britain where there is a massive hill, and they roll a wedge of cheese down, and everyone just goes and chases after it. Basically, no one ever gets the cheese, because obviously the cheese goes faster than everyone else, but all you see is just this mass of humanity falling down this hill, rolling. It's amazing how more people don't get injured watching that.
Yeah, it looks quite dangerous. I wouldn't try it. I don't know.
Oh, there. As Team Angie points out, Immortalis, as we just cut to him actually, having a little bit of a spin, but quite comfortable just on his own at the moment in 4th place. But of course, he's not out of contention either. It will be a three-way fight as it stands, because he'll lose a couple of points to Bruce Law. In fact, because he had the pole position as it stands, he'll only lose 1 point. He'll be 22 points behind in the championship, so he won't be out of contention either. Might need a little bit of luck going his way in Dubai, but he's not out of contention yet. Immortalis had quite a strong year himself, just a few incidents quite early on, but he's not going to rule himself out even with that little bit of a gap. Maybe the dark horse to watch in Dubai.
Yeah, much different conditions there. I would think very, very, very hot. So it's going to be hard slick tires all the way. It rains very rarely there, so.
And I will be amazed if we end up with rain in Dubai.
Yeah.
And then they have been talking about the Bruce Law effect. Obviously, if you missed it last season, 6 of our 8 races were affected by wet weather. Bruce Law wasn't part of the championship last season, but he is now. And everyone was like, suddenly it's going to be dry all the time. It hasn't quite panned out that way. This is our 3rd rain-affected race of this championship, but definitely a lot less than last season. So the Bruce Law effect may be coming into effect, giving these drivers a bit more dry weather running.
Yeah, 1 race with light rain the entire time. And 2 races now with half dry weather, half wet. It's been quite interesting. I think it's been a lot more evenly spaced, the weather challenge here for this season.
I love this. Team Andrews just apologised and said, sorry, that was a jinx on me, as we just came straight to Immortalis on the last lap and find him going backwards. So it takes it away from me, it takes it away from you. I'm sure we'll allow it. Everyone gets one. Don't worry, Team Andy. Everyone gets one.
Yeah.
Peter on YouTube also celebrating CDN Troopers' great drive again, and looking strong for another 5th place finish here.
Yeah, he's really starting to rake in the points for this series.
As, we've done it again.
Yeah.
We've done it again. We've just gone to another driver, praised them, and then they go and make a mistake. But, interesting line to rejoin the circuit, but hey, there you go. That's kind of the benefit I guess you can have when you've got quite a bit of a gap. That car behind is not actually racing into position, just pitting. There's an next car behind about 20 seconds down the road, so plenty of time to be able to just make a little mistake like that and get away with it. We come to the final 3.5 minutes, so let's take a look at Little God, who looks a little bit dirty up front. I don't know if maybe he's had a little bit of an issue going off track somewhere, but as we come down to the final few minutes, leading the way, as we said, as things stand, if it stays as it is, a 6-point lead going into Dubai. I can't call it. I really can't call it.
6-point lead for Bruce, you said?
Yeah, 6-point lead for Bruce going into the final round in Dubai. Can you really call which way the championship would go between him, Little God, or Immortalis?
I don't know. I think, yeah, as I said earlier, I think Little God's got it. I think he's gonna make up those points and maybe get it by one. Could it come down to a fastest lap point or a pole position? That would be crazy.
Now you're really teasing everyone for next week, aren't you? Oh man, it's going to be a great one to watch, and of course it's not the only championship that we have here in Flux Motorsport. There's plenty more to be watching here, as well as round 7 continues for the GTE championship at Laguna Seca. What an amazing track that is. That is going to be tomorrow night. That's 8 p.m. Eastern in America. That's 1 a.m. at UK time Saturday morning. Jack NZ leads that one by 14 points, and then Laguna Seca also hosts the IndyCar Championship Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern in America, 1 a.m. Sunday morning UK time. Taijo leading that one by 24 points, looking good, and maybe if things fall for him, he could possibly even win the championship at that point. But I know a certain someone maybe in this commentary booth who wants the complete opposite of that. And of course on Tuesday will be round 8. It is the final round of the Touring Car Championship. Those brave souls are heading to the Nordschleife combined circuit. Al Axon now leads that championship by 16 points, and we know from having commentated for an hour and a half, it's very difficult to be driving around the Nordschleife combined circuit, so it's definitely an interesting one to keep an eye out. And of course Tuesday will be the first of our championship deciding events, so make sure you stay tuned here on Flux Motorsport to be watching all of those. As Little Scott now comes across the line to start his final lap. It's been, and once again, a second race in a row, pretty dominant almost from start to finish.
Yeah, he's really been class of the field, as I'm sure you've heard the AI engineer say in Project Cars 2. But we just had a retirement of another car dropout. Couldn't make it to the end of the race.
Looks like it's Spankmeyer who's disappeared. We've just gone into the pits in ninth place. So it looks like we've lost Spankmeyer. So do you think what happened to Lil God last season is what's really spurring him on this time? Because obviously last season he won the final 2 races of the season to close in to within 5 points of Linga Batinga, but Linga was able to hang on, of course, and just take that second place at Imola to be able to hold on and remain champion there. So do you think that's what's spurring on Lil God to repeat basically what's happened last season, except he's doing it a race early, so it gives himself one more opportunity to try and close in?
Yeah, that, and like you said earlier on today, he tried his setup from last season on this track, and he thought it was undrivable. He thought, how did I drive this last season? So he's obviously made some big improvements in the setup of the car. Just tuned it to match his style of driving, and yeah, it's really working for him now. Really stepped up his game in qualifying, starting further up the grid, which can only help you in a race situation. Just needing to make many less overtakes in order to get to the front. And here he is going around the last corner, up the hill one last time, Road America straight, flashing the lights, weaving
little
about.
Swerve and a weave and across the line to take his second win of this championship season. Little God wins at Road America. Blankfire will cross the line in second place. It's good, but it's not good enough, as Bruce Law will complete the podium in third place to eliminate Blankfire from the championship picture. Immortalis is running the race on his own. That one lap on dry tyres in the wet really didn't help out, but he'll still find himself in fourth place and still in contention for the title fight. It's 22 points he'll have to make up in the final round. It's going to be a tough call, but not impossible, as he climbs up the hill to take that fourth place and cross the line. A little bit of a weave as well. It's brave to do in these conditions, as he finds out why hitting the wall after he crosses the line. At least he did it after he crossed the line. That's the main thing. CDN Trooper, who's still just making his way around the second half of the lap now, coming for a fourth, fifth place in his third in a row. He's really getting that consistency, and maybe just looking to push a little bit further up for next season. Definitely getting himself into the groove of these GT1 cars. So a fantastic drive by him.
Yeah, just looking at the timing board, it looks like Dr. Potford is getting quite close to Just Piddle at the very end here.
He is indeed. It's looking very close, as CDN Trooper will climb up the hill and take that fifth place. It's getting very close. Dr. Potford just gets a little bit squirrely. I think he might run out of time here to try and take sixth place off of Just Piddling, but also another fantastic result there for a reserve driver as well. So really just having a good time of it, and really getting up to grips with these GT1 cars very quickly, isn't he?
Yeah, great result. Sixth place out of 12 starters. Not bad at all.
So there we go, only 9 make it to the end. It's a second win in a row for Little God, as he closes that championship lead now to just 6 points to Bruce Law, who finished in third place. Blankfile separates them in the middle on the podium in second place. It's fourth place for Immortalis, who finds himself still in the championship hunt. It's a three-way fight going into the final round. CDN Trooper, his third, fifth place position in a row, his fourth overall this season. Sixth place for our reserve Just Piddling, a fantastic result for him. Dr. Potford finds himself in seventh place. It's eighth for Survivor, and Green Gaming finishes in ninth place. So, how about that race? How about that title fight?
Quite an interesting race. Yeah, interesting from the start. Blankfile tried to make that move up into second at the start, ended up getting second based on his smart pit stop of getting the wet tires on at the right time. Just missing out on that fastest lap point. Little God gets it by, looks like 3/10, and that will be a very valuable point coming into the last round, going into Dubai next week.
Indeed. Go on then. Who's your driver of the race? Because there's quite a few names that could get it here.
I'm driver of the race. I'm gonna say Just Piddling deserves that.
Fair enough, and it is a good result, especially for a driver who is a reserve and just joined us. And don't forget, of course, if you want to join us, all you need to do is head over to FluxMotorsport.com, where you can sign up, become a driver, just go for a quick evaluation, and maybe you can even be part of this grid next week and just join as a reserve as we get to the final round. Don't forget, of course, tomorrow 8 p.m. Eastern in America, 1 a.m. Saturday morning UK time, the GTE Championship heads to Laguna Seca. Jack NZ leading that championship by 14 points. The IndyCar Championship also heads to Laguna Seca Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Sunday morning UK time. Taijo leading the IndyCar Championship by 24 points. You can catch that up, can't you, McToasty?
Oh, I don't know. I missed the first 2 rounds, so I'm it's difficult.
To be fair, you had a good recovery drive last weekend.
Yeah, wasn't too bad. Um, yeah, I made a mistake early on, but ended up finishing mid-pack, so yeah, it was a good recovery drive.
See, you still got 2 more races to go. But of course, one championship that only has 1 round to go. It is on Tuesday, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 Eastern over in America. Touring Cars heads to the Nordschleife Combined. What a way to finish that championship. Alaxon leads that one by 16 points, looking quite comfortable at the moment. But the closest fight as it stands at the moment is here in the GT1 Championship. 6 points separates our top 2 drivers as we head to the Dubai Autodrome. Make sure that you're here for that next week. And don't forget, whilst you're here watching, to keep up with everything Flux Motorsport related, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so that you get notified of all the latest videos as they appear here on YouTube. And why not drop us a like on this video too. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram at Flux Motorsport. And don't forget, you can also join our Discord server too to keep up to date with everything going on here at Flux Motorsport. I've been Redders. He's been McCheese on Toasty. Go on, one last cheese fact.
Oh, one more, okay. Let's see, Wisconsin is the only state that requires a license to make cheese. A license to make cheese, yeah. And home to the only master cheesemaker program outside of Europe.
By the way, over the next week, I'm just going to make plans to move to Wisconsin. Anyway, we've got to wrap things up. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that you're here next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 Eastern, for the finale at Dubai Autodrome. It's a three-way championship fight. Who is going to be GT1 Season 2 2021 champion? Join us next week and find out. Bye for now.